Hi. Okay, well, this is part two of just looking at COVID nutrients. And I want to say that in between the first part where I talked about immunity and inflammation, and today, which I'm going to talk about viral load, I actually contracted COVID, and I am healing well. The first 2 days or so actually were harder days. So I wanted to, but I did want to continue this. I think it's important to know that, a lot of these nutrients that we do talk about, it's not to prevent us from actually getting COVID. Same with the vaccines, right? They're not, it might help a little bit, just like our immune system would help a little bit, but it's more about looking at, how our bodies are when we do catch COVID and how to minimize just the serious cases and the effects of it on our body. So that is me, and I'm doing well in case you're wondering, and yeah, just kind of waiting it out and hoping to be negative by the end of this week. So this is just a really quick recap into, the specific nutrients for COVID. I kind of organized it into three categories, which is, again, our immunity, immune system, the lowering inflammation, and lowering the viral load. And these are the main nutrients that we've been talking about. And today we're going to be talking about viral load. And so prior to, I guess, I think it was back in 2020 when I was talking about, just COVID and how, it was just the new research that was coming out with COVID. Green tea was not talked about. So I did talk about zinc and quercetin, which I'm going to talk about later, but green tea is a new one. So I wanted to start with green tea. And this is basically showing that the polyphenols in green tea have shown to inhibit the viral intake into our cells. And specifically, it is the EGCG. So there's lots of great, beautiful polyphenols in green tea. But it is EGCG in particular that has the most effect in terms of lowering our viral load. And you can see here that, when we have green tea prior to infection, it really does make a big difference. And it makes less of a difference when you've already been infected. And here is when you take it well after infection, and it doesn't have too much of an effect. So it's this chart here in B, you can see that these are just cells, right, before infection, before infection. And when there's 0 EGCG on the cell, then, or in the cell rather, then the virus actually does increase. And if there is some EGCG, then the viral load goes down, and even furthermore when there is more EGCG. So that's just a very, very, very quick overview or explanation of what the studies show. So that's one nutrient for lowering our viral load. And just to talk about like the green tea extract versus tea of Vigo, a lot of people are asking me, what the difference is. It's really just in the percentage. So I mentioned before that green tea is, has a lot of polyphenols inside. And so the just green tea extract has other polyphenols. And but in the case of COVID, because we're looking more at EGCG, tea of Vigo seems to be the one that more people are preferring, just because it has 94% EGCG. Versus green tea extract, which just contains 70% EGCG. But it's up to you. There's a little bit of a price difference between the two. I myself, I'm actually just taking green tea extract, but yeah, that's really just the difference. You could also drink green tea, but of course, you're not getting like the standardized percentage of EGCG, and you also would probably need to drink quite a bit of it. And for example, for myself, it's considered like quite lean for me, so cooling in terms of TCM, and I don't do as well with like overly cooling things. So I need to just kind of balance that out. And that's where, supplements really do help. But in the study actually that I quoted, they even recommend us to use green tea to gargle with, or to wash our mouth with. And yeah, and of course, choosing tea, you want to make sure it's organic because it is a heavily sprayed crop. But for this Thé de la Pagode tea that we have, it's interesting because we basically take just the bud and the first 2 tea leaves, and that's where there's a lot more antioxidant in the bud and the first 2 tea leaves. It's about like 70 or 80% of the antioxidants are in the bud and the first 2 tea leaf. And so that's really, that's like the premium picking, and you want to get that high level in order to just get the polyphenols needed. So green tea is definitely an option. And then zinc and quercetin. So this was a study that I came across back in 2020 when I was writing about, when COVID first started. And this you can see with SARS-CoV-2 that zinc in our cells does inhibit the uptake of the virus. So when zinc is at 0, so having no zinc in the cells, you can see the viral load is quite high, and the greater the zinc, the lower the viral load. And the problem though is that actually zinc doesn't just go into our cells. We need a zinc ionophore, basically, which is something that can bring zinc into our cells, because generally it will just be in our bloodstream. And quercetin has been shown to be that can act as a natural zinc ionophore. So I would take the 2 together because they really work together. So other than zinc being, a great nutrient, or a very important nutrient for immune system, and quercetin, a great kind of natural antihistamine. When you put the 2 together, they actually, work on lowering our viral load. So why do we want to lower the viral load? Basically, if you have a very high viral load, 1, you're more infectious. 2, the symptoms could be just harder. And yeah, and then that's where, if you have a very high viral load plus a high plus having high inflammation in the body, then that's where we could run into problems. So I hope this was helpful. And yeah, shoot us a comment or email or anything if you want to learn more. Go onto our blog if you want to just kind of dig more into really like the research and what's happening in our bodies with COVID. I did write quite a few articles about it back in 2020, and actually a lot of the research kind of still the same. The new one that came out is the green tea extract. All right, so stay well, and I'll see you guys soon.